Hi, it's Ben Seong from Learn ASP. Step into our Q&A zone where the spotlight is on you and our extraordinary community. Thank you for sending in some of your most pressing questions, and today we'll make an effort to answer them. These are questions on health, on fitness, performance, body composition, as well as nutrition. 5 main pillars that we'll be focusing on. So whether you are taking a leisurely stroll or really focus on your device, I want you to enjoy this episode, take that information away and use it, because this will be information you can use for your best self. Enjoy the episode ahead.
What are the signs of overtraining? What are the signs that you see in your clients? Signs that they might or might not notice, physical signs, behavioral signs. What kind of signs would you usually pick on in terms of when clients are overtraining?
That's actually a really good one. So the physical, that's a great question. The physical signs of overtraining, you would see things like demotivation. Clients do not get motivated to train anymore. They don't feel like coming to the gym. You will find that if let's say they have a heart rate monitor, their resting heart rate or their morning heart rate should be at a particular level, right? But if their morning heart rate jumps all of a sudden, let's say, for example, their resting heart rate could be at 58 beats per minute, right? Relatively healthy. If the heart rate jumps to 70 beats a minute in the morning, doing nothing, then that could be a sign of overtraining. So an elevated heart rate at a base level. You could also get a massive weight loss. So all of a sudden they weigh themselves and they're 2 kilos lighter, doing exactly the same things. So that could be a sign of overtraining. Now, the other sign of overtraining is, and you don't want that to happen, is the susceptibility to injuries. So they get injured. Just doing something simple that they're normally used to do, they will get injured. This could also be a sign of not warming up enough, but it could be a function of overtraining. Now, the last thing I like to look at with overtraining is actually not a physical sign, because sometimes when I think it's a physical sign that we can look at, the person has already overtrained. What I like to get at is the psychological signs that lead to what actually overtraining is. And one of the psychological signs that I get is the person's want to continue training every single day. So there are people who are addicted to the gym, right? People who are addicted to spending hours in the gym, people who are addicted to the pump. That means if they go to the gym and they don't get a pump, they won't leave the gym. They would spend 2 hours there until they get a pump before they walk off. These are the people, if I hear that they talk about, I need to train, I need to go, I need to do cardio, I need to do this, that to me is already a sign of overtraining. The need to have to do that without taking into consideration the importance of recovery is a precursor to overtraining. So that's my first sign. If my client speaks like that, this is where I need to start talking to them about pulling back. Because if I don't, then they would start to get those physical signs that we mentioned.
Yeah. Do you see differences in terms of male and female when it comes to their training or when they're overtraining?
The amount of time they want to spend in the gym is extended, for one. Females obviously want to spend a lot more time doing cardio. I find that males want to spend a lot more time getting a pump. So same result of staying at extended time in the gym, but obviously what they want to get out of that extended time differs between males and females.
How does intermittent fasting affect female hormones? Should women avoid intermittent fasting?
Okay, so that's you know what, I've actually been doing quite a bit of reading on intermittent fasting. Reason being, again, because I'm spending some time, actually a lot of time, creating content and topics that I'll be presenting soon. I'll be injecting into the Learn ASP platform. But intermittent fasting, I think the term intermittent fasting is very loosely used nowadays, because when someone asks about intermittent fasting, I don't think they understand the idea of what intermittent fasting is actually about. Now, intermittent fasting is a method of making sure you're not eating for a certain period of time. That means your stomach is actually empty of food for an extended period of time, and this allows you to reap certain benefits from it. Some of the benefits include things like insulin sensitivity. That means if you don't eat for some time, your body becomes more insulin sensitive. Of course, this will also help to increase the sharpness of your thinking, focus, concentration, and in fact, research has actually linked intermittent fasting with longevity to a degree. But real intermittent fasting is not exactly done the way we think it is done today. Now, let me explain that. Most people will do a very common type of intermittent fast called the 16-8, if you've heard of that intermittent fast. So that means you fast for 16 hours and you eat for 8 hours, right? And within that 16-8 sort of intermittent fast, 16 hours tends to be fasted after dinner. So let's say you have dinner at 8 o'clock. You finish dinner, and from the time you finish dinner, you take 16 hours before you pop in your next meal, and that meal could be, 12 o'clock the next day, for example, right? Or 12:30 the next day. And then you have an 8-hour feeding window from 12:30 to 8 o'clock or 8:30, where you put in as much food as you can or you want within that window. And that is basically called a 16-8 intermittent fast. But when we look at this, fasting means that your stomach needs to be empty of food. Now, after dinner, it takes about 4 to 6 hours for digestion to occur anyway. So if you're finishing dinner at 9 o'clock, for example, and it takes, if you're having a big meal or you're having certain types of foods that are high in fat, protein, it takes some time to break down. So you're not actually starting your fast, for example, till about 6 hours later. So your fast starts at 2 o'clock in the morning when you're in the middle of sleep. What's more, on top of that, when you're sleeping, all your physiological processes that are happening in your body, energy production, all that kind of stuff, actually slows down, because sleep is a time for you to recover, recuperate, right? So the main thing is that your body shuts down, but your body tries to repair itself. Now, in the process of doing so, you don't want to go to bed with a full stomach, because if that's the case, then you are overworking your body while you sleep. You want your tummy to be relatively empty, because this is where you're going to recover, you're going to produce growth hormone, and all the resources are focused on recovery rather than digestion. So within sleep itself, let's say you've gone to sleep at 10 o'clock, you've just eaten at 9 o'clock, and you've got food sitting in your stomach. This may take an extra hour or two longer for that to digest. So giving you the whole scenario right now, your intermittent fast doesn't start till 4 o'clock in the morning. So from 4 o'clock to 12 o'clock, you fast. That's 8 hours, not 16 hours. Then you eat again for 8 hours. That's not really an intermittent fast. So a lot of people do it the wrong way. In fact, that shouldn't be called intermittent fasting, because at the end of the day, you're skipping breakfast. It becomes a convenient excuse for you to go, I am very busy and I'm going to skip breakfast, right? So it's basically timing your food. That's all. You're skipping breakfast and you're eating at lunch. So if you're looking at real intermittent fasting, start fasting from the middle of the day. Start fasting when you've actually eaten a meal. Start fasting when your body wants to burn energy, not when your body's conserving energy. Do we get this? So if you put the right context of what intermittent fasting, that's the first thing we need to consider, then hey, this changes the ball game completely, because most people will not be able to do it. Most people get hangry. Intermittent fasting at night is really not intermittent fasting. It is just changing the timing of how you eat your foods. Now, in saying so, research has also shown that if you fast, that means you keep your body away from nutrients for a prolonged period of time, despite the positive benefits it might have. A lot of these benefits are more related with males than females. It has also shown that females, for example, tend to get more stressed with intermittent fasting. So if you look at a female hormonal system, the female hormonal system is so much more complex than the male hormonal system. In fact, every month there is a period, and this period is based on an interplay of hormones, right? So your estrogen, your luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, FSH, your progesterone, and so forth. And so this whole interplay of hormone needs to function in a particular way for the period to happen. If you're fasting, you disrupt this. If you're fasting most of the time, this can disrupt the period. And when the period is disrupted, you're not having a regular period, that tells me that there is excessive stress in the system. That tells me that can be negative to any sort of body composition change that you're looking for. Now, most females would fast, not for health benefits, but for body composition. They think that if I fast, I can lose fat faster. Well, in fact, research again has showed us that if you fast, for example, and you're a female, the body also has a tendency to produce lipogenic enzymes. That means enzymes that store fat instead of burn fat. So it works differently for females than it does for males. Okay, now this doesn't mean it's all females. It just tells us that from research, there is a correlation that shows us. Also that if you are a female that's highly stressed, it can work negatively on your body. If you're a female that has a lot of toxins in the system, that can work negatively for your body. If you're a female athlete that is relatively leaner, that can also work negatively for your body. So there are a lot of different situations that we need to consider when it comes to this what actually fasting is all about. Is it really fasting? Or you're just trying to skip breakfast because you think it's a convenient way to do things and you're justifying it with an intermittent fast?
Creatine, does it work for female?
Yes, of course it does. It works for females just as it will for males. Creatine, yeah? Correct, and it will. So with creatine, for example, there is a loading phase for creatine. So your body essentially will need to increase the amount of creatine you take for ideally the first 7 to 9 days. And then you can go on a sort of a maintenance dose for creatine. Muscle creatine, what it does is this. Creatine is not a magic drug that allows you to get stronger. Basically what creatine does is it allows you to get more energy. So it creates more ATP, facilitates the production of more energy. So let's say, for example, if you're pressing 8 reps, creatine might allow you to get an extra 1 rep in. That's what it does. So it doesn't allow, it's not a steroid. It's not something that allows you to grow immensely big. It is something that gives you more energy to perform the workout. But in saying so, when you are tearing more muscle, which is what creatine allows you to do, you need to recover better. When you recover well, based on your workout, you then will grow. That's what hypertrophy is about. So it's not just about creatine, it's what your nutrition is all about. Now, also, if you're taking a bad quality creatine, you will be storing more water in your body. So creatine can help you look fluffy, right? If you don't want that fluffy look, then choose a good quality creatine. The fluffy look often means that it's got heavy metals inside. So some creatines, for example, will have heavier metals. So great to have you join us today, and thank you for your time in watching this episode. Make sure that if you have a question, leave it in our comment section below. Do like, subscribe, and share this. Head to our website, learnasp.com, to check out our short seminars for more content like this. See you in our next episode.